Making a video just go over some of the warrior changes on the PTR right now. Basically, I made a post already that talked about how just awful our rotation is. I'll kind of demonstrate it real quick. It's right now. It's you don't even use breaching strikes. You just use rampage, and then you do 3 reset rampage, 1, 2, 3 rampage, and that's it. That's the whole thing. It's the best DPS output by far, but the class is insanely stagnant now. There's no, like, all these other abilities here, worthless. Get out of here. You smack down. That's it. The rest of them go to hell. So one thing that I was thinking is I'm glad they took Savage Strikes off and they put it on the GCD because I hate the ability personally. Just because of the slight DPS increase it brings for an LAS slot is just pathetic. So I'm glad that happened. But while I enjoy the reset every third or whatever, one thing I was looking forward to was because of this guaranteed reset, you could actually have a pretty cool rotation going. And I knew they said they were going to be taking Tremor off the bench, which I don't think those changes have came yet. And then Whirlwind got some changes, and we'll just look at it real quick. You deal more damage when you're above 500 kinetic energy, and then you also do a burst little detonate kind of thing for the tier 8 at the end of the cast, which is cool. It rewards you for doing the whole cast. And they lowered the cast time down from I think 3 seconds down to 2. So that's cool. That works. And I don't know why it says I don't know what it looks like. It's saying it spends 250 kinetic energy per tick, but what do I know? Anyways, so what I kind of messed around with was the idea of being able to weave these two things. And if you look at their raw damage, my Whirlwind does about, if you finish the cast and you just compare the damage without taking into account how much damage they do throughout their over the course of, say, 1.25 seconds for Rampage and 2 seconds for Whirlwind. Whirlwind actually does about 1,300 more damage with my stats, which is pretty cool because this build actually does not work unless you have tier 8 and everything. Just for the sake of executing. I don't have the tier 8, at least on beta yet, because they haven't posted the changes on live, and I don't care to apply my reputation stuff on here. But you would, once you got your 7th ability tier point, you would be able to go Relentless Strikes, Rampage, and a tier 8 Whirlwind build, and be rewarded for it, instead of just throwing it into like tier 8 Power Link or some other garbage. So basically what the build is the reason you still want Rampage and Whirlwind is Rampage gives the tier 8 buff, gives you 8% assault power. With the way it's set up now, this is still a DPS decrease if you have tier 8 and everything. I think what they need to do is they need to nerf Whirlwind, or not nerf it, but buff it to a 1.25 second channel, because that's what Rampage is. To have that extra 1,300 damage to be rewarded from Whirlwind would be pretty awesome. You need to have it lowered down to that for a couple of reasons. One, in PvP, I don't know any warriors that use Whirlwind, at least anyone that's rated like 2,300 or whatever, besides, the people who exploited to get there. Actual legitimately good players don't use Whirlwind. You're never around 5 people, especially in BGs. Like, I've never seen a point where I was like, hey, I'm going to be around 5 people for 3 seconds and they're not going to interrupt me or CC me at all. I think that's stupid how long that cast time is, and lowering it to 2 seconds is nice, but it's not really on point yet. If it was 1.25 seconds, you'd be able to get it off. You would be able to, I think, actually get the cast off. It'd be something comparable to Rampage, and it would also have that nice burst at the end. So like getting that off for 2 seconds and not being interrupted or CC'd within a group of people, that's unrealistic. It's just not going to happen. But if you lowered it, maybe you might have a chance at getting it off. I don't really care about PvP personally. I think it's poison in MMOs, but that's a personal opinion. I am simply doing this for PvE, mainly because I see Whirlwind as an iconic ability in most other games. Like WoW has it as an instant cast, and you also have Blade Storm where you can spin around a ton, but that's neither here nor there. I usually see it as a better ability to use whenever your main damager is on cooldown. So yeah, I think if they made the change to whirlwind to be 1.25 seconds, there would be something worthwhile to pick up once you got all 7 tiers, or all 7 ability tier points, and not have this insanely stagnant gameplay that's going to be around. As soon as you hit 50, your rotation is going to be the same, and you might just upgrade Power Link and then have all other 6 like utility abilities on your bar. I don't even have Power Link on here right now. For the sake of, I was doing DPS testing earlier, I wasn't using any of these abilities. That's neither here nor there. So this is kind of what the rotation looks like. You're going to get to 100% KE, and then you're going to use Rampage, and then you're going to, like, all through the entire cast, and then 1 Relentless Strikes to get you back to 100% KE, and then you're going to cast Whirlwind. And right after Whirlwind, you're going to do 2 Relentless Strikes to get you back to 100 KE, Rampage, 1 Relentless Strike, Whirlwind, 2 Relentless Strikes, Rampage. So here's what it looks like right now. So you kind of get up there, and it might be a little mismatched right now as soon as I get to 100, but use 1 there, let it go off, 1, 2, resets. And that's the rotation, like just over and over. But it's at least, I'm also lagging a little bit because I'm recording, but I mean it works. And if they nerfed this down to 1.25 seconds, you'd actually be able to, like, I recommend using Smackdown as a raid DPS increase. Certain people disagree that you should have more than 1 warrior running it, but whatever. I think our progression kind of proves that wrong. But anyways, I just, the way it works with Rampage right now, you know, you're able to do just, you get Rampage off, you do 1, 2, 3, let's pretend like it didn't reset there. It's gonna reset again, but whatever. It's not very rewarding as is. And if you lowered this to be like that, you'd be able to weave things in like Smackdown and whatnot without getting as punished. And you'd have it just looks better, like better combat. Like, this just looks much more interesting, requires like actual timing, instead of just holding 1, 2 over and over. Like, you have something else, you get rewarded for getting your ability tier points. It might be something that people might start using in PvP if it does a little bit more damage. Like, there's a whole lot of benefits to it, and as of lately, like, playing a warrior has just gone from like actually being skillful to just being this embarrassing face roll of a class. Like, they lowered our damage on Radiate, they lowered our damage on Detonate, and that's fine. Those abilities were relatively strong, and for being something that you're not actually controlling except for Detonate, that's whatever. I don't really care about that, but at least make the class a little bit more interesting to play. We're basically at this point, and this was predicted during beta, that we would just be buff bots, and basically that's what it feels like. It's utility bots though. You give Smackdown, you give Power Link, you bring a shit ton of interrupts, you bring degrid. It's just like having 6 abilities that are all utility and 1 and 2 that are, it feels like playing Diablo 3 with just left click and right click, and then all the other abilities on your bar are just utility. It's insanely boring, and it's not hard at all. It requires no skill. It basically makes this game become DDR, where you just gotta watch where you're stepping, and you're hitting 2 buttons while you're doing that. It's kind of dumb. So really take into consideration changing Whirlwind around. Like, increase the damage or don't increase the damage. Leave the damage exactly the same. Just lower the cast time to 1.25 seconds, and you'll have a much more interesting class. It'll be literally double as interesting as what it is now. 100% more interesting, because you'll actually have 2 different builds you can go. It's bananas. So take it into consideration. Like, mess around with it on the PTR, see if you enjoy it, and try to give some feedback on the forums, because if this is where the class is going, you're gonna have a lot. Carbon's had a lot of people leave the game so far, and you're gonna have a lot of warriors pissed off because they haven't been able to tank for the past 4 or 5 months now, and now our DPS rotation's 2 buttons, and it doesn't even feel skillful whatsoever. So yeah, take it for what it's worth.